Hi everyone, it's Sue Plumb here to share a scrapbook process video with you. Now today's layout that I am sharing was created as a part of the Scrappy YouTubers Lift-a-thon that started a couple of days ago. Now this scrap lift hop has a long list of talented creators involved and it will be running for over a month. So yesterday my friend Melinda Sweetman lifted a layout of mine, and today I'm going to be lifting a layout by the lovely Joanne Bartel, which you can see up on the screen there. I'll also share a link to Joanne's video at the end, so you can pop over and watch if you'd like to see how she created her page. So I'm going to start by telling you a bit about how I approach this scrap lift. First I chose a layout of Joanne's that caught my eye, and then I thought about how I could translate what she had done into something that was more my style. So the first thing I decided to do was actually create a boy layout. Now I often get asked to do boy layouts, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to show how a beautiful feminine layout like Joanne's could translate into a cool boy page. So I started by looking at the bones of Joanne's layout, and I decided to look at it like a sketch. I took note of some of the key design elements that she'd used, which was to include a single landscape style photo. She also had some mixed media. She had paper tearing, and she had three main embellishment clusters. Now, when I looked at it like that, I realized that it wasn't really too different from my own style, because they are some of the elements that I use constantly in my pages. So I decided to work with the Cocoa Vanilla Studio Legendary collection for my page. And I began with a sheet of white cardstock and one of my Stencil Girl stencils, and that pattern that I've used there, that cool sort of checker plate pattern, and one of my Distress Oxides, and I chose Stormy Sky because I was actually going to work with a blue and green colour palette for this one. There's a bit of a story why I chose blue and green, but I'll get to that later. So I just used a makeup sponge and my stencil there, and I put three main areas of stenciling where I knew that the embellishment clusters were going to fall, and these were roughly in the same places that Joanne had put the clusters on her page as well. Now, of course, she'd done beautiful layered floral clusters, and given that I was translating this into a boy page, there weren't going to be any flowers on mine, but I was still going to maintain those clusters in roughly the same areas. So once I had the stenciling down on the page, the first thing that I turned my attention to was the paper that Joanne had down along the bottom of her page. So I chose two pattern papers. You can see I've got that star print paper, and I've also got that green diagonal stripe as well. So I layered those together, and I made sure where I'd torn the papers that I ruffled up the edges of them, and I also mirrored that at the top of my page. So I used a smaller piece of the two papers, again, torn, layered, ruffled, and laid that over the top because that was going to help with the flow of my page down from top to bottom. Okay, so once I had those in place, that was the photo actually. The photo that I was scrapping here was of my twin boys. They had come home from school one day, and one of them was not feeling well, and he laid down, and of course the other one laid down, and he was just sitting there like with his hand on him, and he was just comforting him and trying to make him feel better. It was a really, really cute moment. Anyway, so back to my page. Over the top of the stenciling, I actually did a little bit of stamping. I used a rubber stamp from Viva Las Vegas Stamps that's got this little sort of starry print on it because I knew there was going to be some stars on my page. And that just added a little bit of dark to my background because with the black and white photo and those prominent black tones in the photo, I needed to draw some darkness into my page as well. So now with the photo, I've actually put some cardboard on the back of my photo just to pop it up a bit from the background. And now I'm actually working on the layers that are going behind my photo. So I had a selection of pattern papers from the Cocoa Vanilla Studio Legendary collection. And as I said, I was working in blue and green tones. Now, the significance of working in blue and green tones when I have a photo of my two boys is because when they were little and we had to color code things to know whose was whose, being twins, you know, things got mixed up and they had things the same. One of them always had blue, one of them always had green. So I do find myself that when I am scrapping a page that has both of them in it, using a color palette that has both blue and green just to represent the two of them. So you can see my paper stack there. I've got a variety of pieces there. I've also put in a grey paper doily, and I stapled all of that stack together just to allow me to move it around as one piece. You can see that green paper that I've got at the back of my stack. It was actually from the cut apart sheet, and it was only a little piece that measured 3 by 4, but I really wanted to include it in my layers. So all I did was cut it in half so I could tuck a piece in at the top and then a piece in at the bottom. So it gives the illusion that it's a much larger piece of paper than it really is, and allows you just to add that extra little piece in. So of course I used my T-square to make sure that my paper stack was straight on the page. You know, I'm a bit of a stickler for that when it comes to making sure that the anchor piece is actually straight on the page. Now, once I had my paper stack in place, sorry, you have to bear with me, I've got a little bit of a sore throat today, so I'm struggling a bit to talk. Yeah, and I had all of my papers in place. You can see that where I've done the stenciling is just sort of poking out from behind where those 3 clusters are going to go. All right, embellishments. Now it's time to embellish my page. So I pulled out the coordinating pieces from the Legendary Collection. I wanted to have my title in the same place that Joanne had had her title, and I had chosen to use some of the die-cut title words from the Legendary Collection. So I just chose Brothers Love because I thought that represented what was going on in the photo really well. Before I got to embellishing my page, you can see here that I'm adding a bit of texture to my page using some frayed gauze. Now, for everyone that asks, I usually get these sheets of gauze from a pharmacy. I get them in a big pack, and then I just cut the sheets up, fray them out, add them into my stack, and then add my photo on top. When you are putting your photo down on top of the gauze, I would recommend you use a strong liquid adhesive because tape will not hold over the top of the gauze. You need a liquid adhesive to get through those fibres. Okay, so now I'm actually going to put my title on. So I'm actually going to run the word brothers along the lower edge of the photo, and then I am just tucking the word love in underneath. As I said, this is to mimic the place where Joanne had her page title as well, because I thought that the flow was really good. And now I'm getting on to building up my embellishment clusters. So for that cluster on the left, I actually started off with a handmade embellishment from Charms Creations. I've got that layered star there, which is created from felt. And I'm actually putting a flare button from the Legendary Collection over the top of it. Now, the reason I wanted to put a flare button in this cluster was because Joanne actually had a flare button in her same cluster, in the same place, and I wanted to mimic that as well. Now, up above my photo there, I've actually chosen that cute little Geo bear from the die cut ephemera pack. Now, the reason for me choosing this bear, there was a bit of thought process behind it. Even though there's nothing sort of outdoorsy about this or anything, but seeing one of my boys so protective over his brother like that when he wasn't feeling well, it just reminded me of like a mother bear, you know, protecting her cub type thing. So I actually thought that the bear tied in quite well. So I flicked through that embellishment pack just to see that what else I could add onto the page. I also pulled out the accessory stickers, and you can see I've added that phrase along the top there, which says "to the moon and back," which is why I've also tucked that moon piece in nearby. Down the bottom, I've actually added the little die cut piece with the cluster of mountains for no other reason than it looked really cute there. as again, it didn't really tie into the page in any particular way, shape or form, other than the fact that I liked the peaks sort of running into that checker plate pattern from the stenciling, and that the colours worked really well. So over the top of that, I've actually layered that little banner sticker that says Legendary, which I actually popped up with a little bit of foam tape just to raise it up off the back. And now I'm going in with some die cut stars, which I am adding to or near to each of the clusters around my page. I thought this tied in really well with the fact that I chose the superstar flare button to use, and also that layered felt star embellishment from Charms Creations. I'll also put a link to Charms Creations down the bottom, as I will put a link to Cocoa Vanilla Studio if you want to check out either of those. Okay, so getting the stars on the page. Now, one of the other things that Joanne used on her page was clear stickers. She added a number of small clear leaf stickers to her floral clusters. Now, given that I had no flowers, I couldn't use leaf stickers, but it did inspire me to use the clear stickers from this collection to go through and add a number of small stars. So I just looked through the clear sticker sheets. I found a few that would work in well. I didn't want anything too big because I didn't want it to sort of overwhelm the page, but I did manage to find some small ones that I could add in. Now, Joanne did have a metallic element on her page as well. I believe she had used a metallic brad on her page, and I wanted to pull in a metallic element to my page as well. So I actually went with some silver wire, which I just twisted into sort of a random shape to sort of underline my title there, and I affixed it to the page using my stapler. I then took another piece of wire and I twisted it into a little heart shape, which I thought looked really cute. Initially, I was going to put that in the top right cluster, and then it didn't sort of look right there, so I ended up putting it in the cluster on the left. And again, I used staples to fix it to the page. And then, because I already had two pieces of wire on my page, of course, I had to cut a third and add a third little piece just to complete my visual triangle, because you know I am all about that triangle. So I then went in with some of the coordinating enamel dots from the collection. I just added a few scattered around the page near to each of the clusters. And then the last thing that I finished off with was some splatters of some black Liquitex acrylic ink. So thank you so much for watching this page come together today, and a special thanks to Joanne for the inspiration for this page. There's a link to Joanne's video above, so you can head over and watch how her page came together, and make sure you check out the full list of all the participants in the description below. You might find yourself some new cool scrappy peeps to follow. And of course, if you aren't already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would click on the subscribe button, and please leave me a comment or a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video, or if you have any questions, just post them in the comments below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks so much for watching today. I'll leave you with a little side by side so you can see my layout and Joanne's layout together. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.